In this example, we're going to find the value of x in the figure below. Notice how the two expressions that have x's in them are vertical angles, and we know that vertical angles are congruent to one another. So what we can do to solve for x is just set the two expressions equal to one another. 4x minus 101 is equal to 2x plus 3. And now we can go ahead and solve for x. Let's begin by getting all the x's on one side of the equation. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. When we do that, we get down to 2x minus 101 equals 3. Now let's get 2x alone by adding 101 to each side. And that brings us down to 2x equal 104. To finish it up, we'll just divide both sides by 2 and get x equal 52. Now, on some of the questions that you see, you may be asked to actually find the value of the angles in the picture. So x equal 52 is x, but let's suppose it also asks you to find the value of the angles. Remember, if it asks you to do that, you can just take the numbers and sub them in for x. So 4x would be 4 times 52 minus 101. And now we can just use our calculator here. 4 times 52 is 208 minus 101, and that is 107 degrees. Over here, we should also get 107 degrees. Remember, vertical angles are equal to one another, so it might be a good idea just to plug that in and make sure that we also get 107. So 2 times 52 is 104, and 104 plus 3 is 107. So these two angles are both 107. What if I also asked you to find the value of the remaining two angles? Notice how for the remaining angle, you can make a line, and a line is always 180 degrees. So this value here is just 180 minus 107, which would be 73 degrees. Go ahead and do this try now on your own. You're going to be asked to find the value of x here, but also find the measure of both pairs of vertical angles. So you're going to need to substitute that value for x back into the equation. Go ahead and pause the video and give this problem a try. Ready? Pause the video. All right, here are your solutions. The first step was to find x, so set them equal to one another, and you end up with x equal 20. Then I took the value for x and I plugged it into the variable expression. So 3x becomes 3 times 20, which means this angle here is 60 degrees, as is its vertical angle. So the one across from it is also 60 degrees. To find the second pair of vertical angles, that would be 180 minus 60 because it makes a line with the 60-degree angle. So your two angle measures should be 60 degrees and 120 degrees. For this next example, we're going to find the value of x and the measure of each angle in the figure below. But notice this time we don't have vertical angles, but what we do have is we have a 90-degree angle right here. That means that these two angles together are complementary angles. They add to 90. So what we can do is we can go ahead and add the two expressions together. So x plus 3x plus 18 has to equal 90. Now let's go ahead and combine our like terms. Here the x's are on the same side, so you can just go ahead and add those together. 1x and 3x is 4x. So 4x plus 18 equal 90. Then subtract 18 on each side. And when we do that, we end up with 4x equals 72. And now we are one step away here. Just divide both sides by 4, and you will end up with x equal 18. So that's the first part of the problem, finding x. Now let's use that value of x to find the measure of each of the angles in the figure. So already we know that this angle here is 18 degrees because that's just x. But to find this value, we need to evaluate the expression. So let's go ahead and do 3 times 18 plus 18. And that would make 54 plus 18, which is 72 degrees. So the value of our two angles are 18 degrees and 72 degrees. For this next part of example 3, we're going to again find the value of x and find the measure of each angle in the figure. Notice that this time, the two expressions with the x's in them together are forming a straight line. And we know that a line is always 180 degrees. So these two angle pieces, the 2x plus 8 plus the x minus 24, together has to add up to 180. And now we can go ahead and solve for x like usual. 2x and x would be 3x. 8 minus 24 is going to be negative 16. So 3x minus 16 equal 180. Let's add 16 on both sides to get 3x equal 196. And now when we divide by 3 here, we are going to get a decimal. That's okay. When we divide by 3, we end up with 65.3 repeating, or 65 and a third. Do not do any rounding, though, when it comes to finding the measure of the angles. So let's go ahead and actually keep that number in our calculator, and then we'll plug it into the expressions. So 2x plus 8 becomes 2 times 65.3 repeating plus 8. So we go ahead and we do that. That's 130.6 repeating plus 8, and that would be 138.6 repeating degrees for one of the angles. And for our other angle, we evaluate the second expression, x minus 24. So again, x is 65.3 repeating. Subtract 24 from that, and we end up with 41.3 repeating degrees. So those are the two types of problems that you're going to see that have to do with complementary angles and supplementary angles. Here are two examples, just like the ones we looked at in example 3 for a try now. I'd like you to pause the video now and give this problem a try on your own. Ready? Pause the video. So here are the solutions to the two try now problems. Feel free to pause the video and look through these if you need more time to fix any mistakes. For our final example, we are told that ray GH bisects angle FGI. Remember that when a ray bisects an angle, that means it divides the angle into two congruent angles. So you can see that's also marked here in the diagram. Angle FGH has one arc by it, as does angle HGI. So because the two angles are congruent, we can start by setting those two expressions equal to one another. 3x minus 3 is equal to 4x minus 14. Now we'll just solve for x. Let's go ahead and bring all the x's to one side. So I'm subtracting 3x from both sides, and that gets us down to negative 3 equals x minus 14. Now if we just go ahead and add 14 on both sides, that gets us down to x equal 11. So that's the first part of our answer. But make sure that you always read the directions carefully, because in addition to finding x, we also need to find the measure of angle FGH and angle IGH. Let's start with angle FGH. You can see in the diagram that angle FGH has the expression 3x minus 3. Since we just found x, to find its measure, just go ahead and sub in 11. So 3 times 11 minus 3, that's going to equal 33 minus 3, which is 30. So angle FGH is equal to 30 degrees. Then you'll go ahead and do the exact same thing with angle IHG. You can see in the diagram that angle IGH, is equal to 4x minus 14. So again, we know x is 11, so go ahead and sub 11 in for x, and then we'll evaluate that expression. 4 times 11 is 44, minus 14 is 30. Now, it is good that they're both equal to 30 degrees, because remember, angle bisectors should take the angle and divide it into two congruent angles. So it makes sense that both of the angles are 30 degrees. Now, I know it doesn't ask us to do this in this question, but let's just suppose that it also asked us to find the measure of angle FGI. So you can see in the diagram that angle FGI is the larger angle. Well, you don't actually have to plug in any numbers anymore to get that, because angle FGI is just 30 degrees plus 30 degrees. So we could add that together and find that the larger angle, FGI, is equal to 60. This try now is exactly like the previous example. So I want you to pause the video and try this problem on your own. Ready? Pause the video. So here are your answers. You set the two expressions equal to one another. I moved all the x's to one side by subtracting 4x from both sides. That gets us down to negative 3x equal negative 48. Divide by 3 and you get x equals 16. Then to find the measure of the two angles, we just take that value and we plug it into the expressions. Angle AWR is 16 degrees and angle BWR is also 16 degrees. So that is it for lesson 0.4 day 2. Thanks for watching. Good luck as you try some problems on your own. Bye.
Okay, example 5 says, given that FG bisects ACE and DCG equals 27, find the measure of FCB. So we're told that FG bisects ACE, so that means that AC is a straight angle and FG is cutting it in half. That would mean both of them would be right angles. We are also told that DCG right here is 27 degrees. And now we're asked what the angle of FCB is. That's right here. And so they gave us this bisect information, but that's actually not necessary if we notice our type of angle pair that we have. Angle DCG and angle FCB are both vertical angles. And we know from earlier today that those are congruent. So angle FCB would just be 27 degrees. And that is our final answer.